Hi, I'm Victoria. Haven't really done these live videos before except for a couple of my small groups that I talk to sometimes. I make a lot of videos you might have seen already on Hypnique Studio that are belly dance related, and also some yoga videos and things like that. But today I was going to talk with you guys a little bit about some things that have been on my mind. Some of you might know that I am also a licensed clinical social worker and worked in mental health for a long time. And during that time, I think even prior to that time, I got really, really amazed by the brain. And then with some of my experiences over the course of my life, especially the last 10, 11, 12 years, I have been even more amazed by what our brain and our bodies can do. And the reason why I'm talking about this is because during this time that we've all been kind of launched into together, our lives have become radically different. Even if you're still going out to your work and your place of employment, you are probably doing it in a different way. I know some of my friends are going more places or spending more time at work than they have in the past. And then a lot of us are spending less time in those places of employment, or we've even switched our employment here. So, meaning here is my house, by the way. I am sitting on my patio in my backyard, which is one of my favorite spots, and this is currently my yoga studio. My belly dance studio is inside because it's less comfortable to dance on the hard patio surface. So, like I said, things have radically changed. And I've really been thinking a lot about how this is building, whether we know it or not, new neural pathways for us. And I'm going to draw you some pictures here in a moment, but I want to show you some things that I painted over the last couple of weeks. This is a way that I express things a lot of times. I do a lot of things with creative expression. You all know I dance, you all know I do yoga, have been practicing yoga for over 20 years, but maybe you do or you don't know that I paint. And these paintings have been in my head for months, way before all this stuff happened. I started thinking about the brain. And this first one I did probably about a week or so ago. And the sky is meant to represent your neural pathways, or mine in this situation, that's me. It's actually kind of a picture of the mountains, which is one of the places I go typically to shift my environment, to sometimes create big shifts. So it's kind of interesting how you may notice after we have this conversation. And by the way, I will say hi to some of you all. I am so unfamiliar with using live that I'm just grateful that you're watching me, but I'm afraid to touch anything because I might screw it up. So the neural pathways are if you're not familiar with that term, it's like the roads in your brain that your brain sends messages on. And those are really important. So if you've ever had head trauma, a concussion is one version of that, but there's other ways you can have that, of course. You might have had some residual things happen where maybe you even had to relearn how to do things. I've worked a lot over the last few years with a number of people who have traumatic brain injury, and I've worked with them either through, they came to me through a counseling setting, or I had some come to me through a yoga setting. And one of the ways that we work to shift the neural pathways for them, we're not looking so much at that point to recreate the ones that were injured. We're actually making new ones, which I think is so, so amazing. That your brain can actually build a whole different road to send those messages on. So hopefully that kind of helps you understand what I'm going to be talking about a little bit. So going back to the mountains is one of the places that I go every year, at least once a year, sometimes more. But again, some of you all know I hike sections of the Appalachian Trail every year. And I do that with a couple of my friends now, Amanda Lacey and Janice. And I really am so grateful to have them with me, because during that time, just because you're out there for days, you end up kind of processing through different things, talking about things, working through stuff that's been in your head as you're walking and moving your body, which is something you're going to see is really important here in a moment when I start drawing for you, which, by the way, is not going to look as good as these over here, probably. But if you've ever taken a course with me, you'll be familiar with the drawing that you're going to see in a few moments. Okay, so the other painting that I did, and this one I just finished last week, and this one I called Open Your Receptors. So we have receptors all over our body to receive messages, and I'm just even talking about that from a physical standpoint right now. You have pathways all over your body for your neurons to travel down so that your brain can send messages to your hand, so that I knew to go and pick up that painting to show you. So amazing. Your body is amazing. My body is amazing. So Open Your Receptors to me was really about this during this time. I actually, this is kind of crazy. I cannot go to the mountains even if I wanted to right now, because interestingly, I mean, I guess I could go. So I'll say that. I would have the choice to go. However, one of the things that I received a couple of weeks ago was an email. I'm a member of the Appalachian Trail Conservancy group, and that just means that I contribute to them because it's an amazing, amazing trail if you've never been on it, and it's completely volunteer maintained. So they sent an email a couple of weeks ago, and when they did, they said, please do not come to the trail. They actually asked people to not come to the Appalachian Trail, which has never happened in, the history of the trail. And the reason that is because, people have had more time, and I think we're craving the outdoors, hence why I'm sitting on my patio doing this and not in my house. We're craving that connection with nature, which is us. We are nature. And also, because of the current situation, though, the gatherings of people, there was a concern by the Appalachian Trail Conservancy that, we could potentially spread things to each other, and that wouldn't be positive. So it's just interesting to me how much has shifted in just the last few weeks. For those of us that live in Florida, I have friends all over the country and even the world, actually. And for different time periods, I know some of you all have been in that sheltering at home state, which is what we're calling it in one of my groups. Thanks, Mary Maynard, for that term. Sheltering at home is a much softer word to me than quarantine, and I'm personally not sick at all. I'm very, very well and healthy. However, sheltering at home helps me feel better right now to continue to be. So it's a choice that I'm making for most of my days. So that being said, my normal ways that I go to process things are not really available for me in a way that I would feel comfortable. And a lot of this talk, I think, too, is about being authentic to ourselves, because what's comfortable for me isn't going to be comfortable for you. So I'm not saying you have to start painting to change your neural pathways. You can do so many different things, and you'll see what some of those ideas are. So like I said, during this time, we are building new neural pathways, whether you know that or not. And so anytime you're introduced to something new, actually, you are building new neural pathways. In order to create an entire new way of being, or maybe an entire new habit or pattern. You have to spend some time doing the same thing over and over. And that's part of how we learn as humans. It's kind of a cool thing, and it's part of how our brain learns. Now, obviously, there's some stuff that's hardwired in. Like, I don't have to build new neural pathways to tell my heart to beat, or, you know, for things to keep working when I go to sleep at night, or for myself to breathe. So there's some things that are just wired in. However, there are so many things about the way that we live our lives, our lifestyle, that we can shift and change, and we can create the new neural pathways so that you create an entire new road for your messages to travel down. So I want to show you this gingerbread drawing. Like I said, some of you all are going to be familiar with the gingerbread. It looks a little different every time. If you've been in my courses or workshops, you will have seen the gingerbread. Okay, so what the gingerbread is about, and the reason we call it the gingerbread is because that's sort of what it looks like when I get finished with this drawing. My students came up with that. Okay, so what this gingerbread is about. This is how I see myself and you all. I see us as a whole person, not just one element. So I don't just see a body. I don't just see the mind, even though I'm really familiar with that aspect of a lot of people and how that might work. I don't just see your expression of yourself. I see an entire person. And now I'm going to draw this so that you can start to see what that looks like. Because in the context of building these new neural pathways, it's neat to start to look at it from a broader view. All right, so I think this is going to work. I'm going to start with what a lot of us are very familiar with, which is the body. Okay, like I said, not my best art, but it's definitely one that is near and dear to me. I can't even tell you how many times I've drawn this. Oh, let's give you some eyes. You need some eyes. Okay, we'll make a peaceful body here. All right, so I chose brown for the color, and there's reasons why I choose the colors too. The body to me is that, like, that earth part of us. It's just the way that I interpret it. It's not right or wrong. There's so many different ways that you can interpret this, but this just helps me anchor to some pictures here. So when I say your body, I mean your entire physical body, including the brain that I was just talking about, all the systems of your body. So your circulatory system, your digestive system, your neurological system. So these are all systems that we have, your nervous system. Everything about your body is what's represented here by this lovely gingerbread, okay? This is one aspect of you. You cannot separate the body from the rest of you. It's all one thing, and I'll keep saying that so that we keep remembering it. Now, I'm going to go to the next part that is very familiar to a lot of people. And I draw these kind of like the chakra system a little bit too because of yoga, and that is the way that I also see people energetically. That's your energetic body, is your chakra system. That'll be another lesson maybe sometime. So here I draw at the mind's eye your mental body, okay? I'm not going to draw the words on there. If you're drawing along at home, you can do it yourself, so I don't busy up our drawing. So your mental body to me is your thoughts. You have thoughts right now about what I'm talking about, and some of you are putting them on there, and I don't even know. I think I'll be able to see them later. I'll get better at this, I promise. So the mental body is your thoughts. The reason I put it there is because even if you're not into yoga, you will probably associate your mental body with here, the mind. We point to it. We'll say, I have something on my mind, so it's a good way to remember it. And this is all your thoughts. Any thoughts you might call good and any thoughts you might call bad. And just so you know, there is no point that I am aware of that you will ever stop thinking. Even at night, you're dreaming, right? You may not always remember your dreams, but at some point you're dreaming. So our thought body, that part of ourself, our mental body, is always running. What's cool is this is connected to the physical body, right? So one avenue of changing neural pathways is through the mental body. Okay, so I'll give you some tools here at the end. Now, the next part that I'm going to talk about is I put here at the heart, and I draw it as a heart. Some of you all know that I'm a little bit obsessed with hearts. If you've ever watched some of my past videos, I'll tell you a really, really quick story about that. When I was a teenager, and probably even younger, but when I was a teenager, I could not stand hearts. I know hate's a strong word, but I would say that I probably hated hearts, like heart jewelry, hearts on shirts, all that kind of stuff. And what's interesting is, as I have opened up my own personal heart chakra, as well as my personal heart, I love hearts. You all see that. I see them in nature all the time. I wear them all the time. I draw them on everything. It's a little bit ridiculous. So this part that is the heart, I put it at the heart chakra. We even will say something is on my heart, right? I have something on my heart. This is your emotional self. Let's color that in a little bit. Okay, so emotional self or emotional body, however you want to say it. Now, the way that I interpret emotions and feelings are two different things. Feelings to me, picture the beach. You all have been there, many of you. Even if you don't live in Florida, I'm sure that you've been to the beach somewhere. Waves come in and out all day long. That's what I call feelings. You have feelings as soon as you pop open your eyes in the morning. You will have feelings all day long. But those shift and change throughout the day, very quickly even sometimes. You might wake up feeling grateful, and then all of a sudden your coffee maker doesn't work and you feel frustrated for a moment. But it's not maybe the end of the world, right? Emotions are that deeper undercurrent. So the waves are the feelings in and out. The undercurrent is, if you've ever been in a real hard undercurrent, I know I have a few times, it will pull you in one direction. Even if you're trying to go a different direction, it's challenging to work against it. So our emotional body, which at another point I'll talk more deeply about that, but our emotional body to me is part of our, like our GPS. Our feelings are telling us something. Our emotions are telling us something. And we have a few different general emotional states, but I'm not going to talk about that today. All right, now I'm going to go down here. At our solar plexus area is where I draw this, which is around your belly button area. We call this our core, and in yoga, it is the solar plexus chakra. This section is where I say is your spiritual intuitive self. Okay, so this is like the true self part of you that's always there and always speaking to you and actually knows that everything is totally fine. The rest of you may not know that because we have all these patterns. Remember the neural pathway thing? We have all these patterns that have been built into us. The more we're aware of them with our mental body, okay, the more we can shift them. And in situations that we have right now, like I said in the beginning, we've been launched into a situation where everything's different. So we actually have a lot of opportunity to notice what comes up and make some choices to shift some things. You might even just decide that some things aren't as important to you as they used to be. I don't know. I know I have had that experience a few times. Or I've also found that there's certain things that I've found even more important, more sacred during this time. So, spiritual, intuitive part of yourself. I put it at the solar plexus. If you think about it, we say this too in American culture. We say, listen to your gut, right? I think a lot of us know what that means, but to me, I get feelings there sometimes that lead me certain directions. When I don't follow them, which of course I don't sometimes, although less and less and less, and that's why I'm kind of talking about this. When I don't follow them, my emotions, my feelings start talking to me. When I do follow them, I feel pretty settled. Okay, now we're going to go to the energetic part of you, and I'm going to draw that in purple and pink. Let's do purple first. So this is, and that may be kind of light for you to see, but just know it's there. Which is actually kind of funny because this is your inner aura. And a lot of people don't see this visually with their eyes. However, what I've noticed for people as they practice different meditative arts, or just become more mindful and self-reflective, as well as practice the physical asana of yoga, all those different things, or Tai Chi. There's so many different ways that you can tap into your energetic body. You may start to see your inner aura. And for me, it's like a little light. A lot of times I see it when I'm dancing, or even when I'm just really, really in tune. I don't know if, whatever that means to you, but in tune to me is like really in tune with divine. I might see some light around my hands. And I see that around other people sometimes too. Okay, so this is our inner aura. Now, we have this outer aura that other people might call an energy egg. So let's see if I can make, this is a very strange egg today, but you get the idea. The outer aura is your energy egg. This is almost like your protective bubble that you walk around in. Now, different cultures I have found at least, different cultures have different size energy eggs. In America, we kind of like big energy eggs, and we like a lot of space around us, most of us, not all of us. These are generalizations, of course, but you're going to be your own individual self. Think about your energy part of yourself as still part of your entire self, though, okay? Coming back to that. All of these things are one you, what makes up you. So I see you like the true self nugget in the center of it all. And then all of this helps us be here on planet Earth as humans and experience this human experience that we're having. So the way that I've come to understand the energy egg, and this helps me a lot, this is kind of like that protective bubble, like I said. Again, I'll talk about these things more in detail over a few days. I'll break each one down for you. If you imagine, though, for a moment, that you have like little energy hairs coming off of your inner aura to your outer aura, and you can see my hair. I hardly ever brush it. When I don't brush it for too long, I'm going to get a matted knot in that hair, all right? If we forget to wash our hair, or if we just don't feel like washing it for a while, for most of us, especially if you have as much as I do, you're going to get clumps, or it's going to get greasy. So imagine that your energy hairs start to like create a little hole, okay? So these are your saggy, sad hairs. When we don't take care of our energy body, on the outside first, that's like the first layer, you're going to get maybe a little hole. And that's, to me, where I feel like sometimes we feel other people's stuff. And I want to be clear about that. If you're feeling other people's stuff, you're not like removing it from them. You're just carrying it too. Again, that's my experience. And some of this may be new language for you. That's okay. I think there's a part of you that will really hear it, though, if you're still listening. So one of the ways that we take care of ourselves, that we can take care of ourselves, is actually to take care of ourselves energetically. So again, we'll talk about that a little bit more. Okay, last piece of how I see us. And this last piece of how I see us as this whole self, I actually didn't draw about it about 4 or so years ago when I first started drawing the gingerbread, maybe even longer ago. I just did this part. And so I think what's interesting is, as I personally have continued my own practice of looking within, becoming more mindful, noticing, observing from a place of just observation without judgment, curiosity, I call it. Then I even went another step further and became more compassionate about my noticing. So one of the things that came up for me a few years back was how I was very, and still am, very compassionate towards others. That's kind of my nature, and I would call also my personality. Very caring and compassionate about others. But the way that I would speak to myself in my own head, or even sometimes out loud, you would probably call horrific at times. And this was just a few years ago, after many years of practicing yoga and many years of really having an awesome, joyful life. So you may find continuing over time that you just keep noticing and noticing and noticing new things. And as you notice those new things, you're building new neural pathways so you can start being different, acting different, behaving different, and then you start thinking different. Do you see how all of this is related? So the last piece that came to me not that long ago, which is so funny once you understand it, because now that you know who I am, and you all do know my love of the arts, the self-expression is another part of you. Self-expression, I put at the throat chakra, because in yoga, that's the spot that we talk about it as self-expression. If you think about it, we also say things like finding our voice, which doesn't necessarily mean making a video and talking to you all and whoever else may watch it later. That is certainly finding a voice, right? It could also be, though, expressing through paint. It could be expressing through dance. It could be expressing through how you problem solve in your workplace. It can be expression through creating culinary, cooking at your house, baking. It's so many different ways you could be self-expressing. Self-expressing, and I think this is why it came to me later, self-expressing is when we are beginning to thrive. We can actually survive life, exist totally, without self-expressing. So I think that's a really interesting point. One of the things that we have an opportunity for right now as we're building these new neural pathways is to be more conscious about the neural pathways that you're building. Some things are probably going to come up that could keep us in surviving for those of us that are used to that. And again, back to, the mental health aspect of my life, over the years I've worked with and also experienced quite a good bit of trauma. And we know now in the mental health world that everyone has experienced, maybe everyone's not the right word, but let's just go with most people. We've all experienced some kind of trauma, but the levels of that could be very, very different. So what comes up for some people may not come up for other people as strongly. So again, back to no judgment, we have to be in a place that we feel safe enough to be coming into self-expression. And it's okay if we're not there yet. And that doesn't mean your physical surroundings aren't necessarily safe. You might have very safe surroundings, but patterns and behavior and all of those things are things that we've taken on our entire lives. And they don't shift like that. However, when we become more mindful, and I've said that word a lot, so I'll explain it. More mindful to me means paying more special attention, basically. The way I describe it to kids a lot of times is I'm putting my full mind on something. And if you think about it, many times our full mind is unconsciously on something, or maybe even consciously on something, but it's not all that productive and life energy building for us. So when we notice that, I have a little technique that I'm going to give us today. I'm going to put down the gingerbread. So when I notice myself, because the mind is a way that I've been like, whew, the thoughts could go rampant sometimes, especially when I was younger. Mindfulness was a way I corralled my thinking for a long time so that I could then shift. And actually it wasn't that I then shifted my thinking, I shifted my focus and my thinking followed. So here's the tool for today. New neural pathways we're going to make with this. As you notice your thoughts, one aspect of yourself, right, this whole self, as you notice your thoughts on something that it feels like it's sucking the life energy out of you, that's the way I say it. Maybe it's not that dramatic for you, but if it's not life-giving to you, life energy giving, if that's what your thoughts are on, don't worry about changing them. Take a moment and either clap or snap. I'm not as good at the snapping, so I usually clap. And then I say, be here now. Then I find something that is tangible here right now with me. So it changes all the time. Most of the time, my phone is here in my hand. It's just the way it is. But it's not right now because you all are watching me on it. So here's what I have, and I adore these wipey markers. That's what I call them. And the reason I adore them is because they are multiple colors. So you're going to find something tangible in your experience right now, something you can pick up and touch. And you're going to talk about how much you appreciate it, how much you love it, how much you adore it, how grateful you are for it. So I'm going to give you an example. I love these wipey markers because they are also magnetic. So I can stick them on my board so I don't lose them. That happens to me a lot. I have multiple colors. I even have a whole basket more of them here. It allows me to express things to you in all of these different colors instead of just one. Do you see how that feels? So for me, I like to choose something that's a little bit silly. You know, maybe markers aren't all that exciting to you, but as you can tell, they are to me. Maybe it's a blade of grass, or the fact that my aloe plant over there bloomed its flowers the other day, and I think it only happens once a year because I've only seen it one other time. It could be anything that you choose, but I like to pick something a little bit silly, a little bit light, maybe a lot light, because the lighter you can make it, the better you'll feel. And remember, my solar plexus, my spirit part of myself, is talking to me through my feelings and emotions, which I put at the heart. And if I am feeling lighter, if I am feeling joyful, then in this moment, that is what I am. Now, from that place, I can choose where I want to put my focus. So that's a tool for today, to build new neural pathways, not just during this time, but for eternity, because I've been using these tools for a really long time. And hi. And they're powerful. And I think one of the most powerful things about them to me is they are simple. I am not going to give you anything that's complicated because the mind has a lot of like slippery slopes when we get complicated. So 3 steps, right? To simply move your mind from something that's not life energy giving to something that's here right now that you're appreciative and grateful for. The sillier, the lighter, the more joyful it can be, the better, just because it's quicker that way. And then from that point, you can choose what you want to focus on. Your mind may go back to the other thing, but you have choice there too. You do it again. Do it as many times as you need to. So as I wrap up for today, consider this image. I made it with, as you can tell, I love colors. Lots of colors. Everything I paint has tons of colors on it. If you consider that this sky is like your neural pathways being developed and new neurons, and you're just building all these amazing things inside of your body to function even better than it was functioning before, that might be a nice visual for what's happening, at least from my point of view, inside of you right now, what's waking up inside of you, if you so choose. So I'm going to do this again, probably similar time tomorrow. I'm going to try to be conscious of the time. So I think it was around 12:30 that I started. So I'll plan another little live, and this was fun for me. I hope it was for you. Now you know the gingerbread, and I hope to share some more things with you all soon. All right. I love you guys. I have no idea who was on here, but maybe I'll see later. And I think I can make this where it's recorded. We'll see. All right. Thank you. It was good to see you on here, Lourdes. Bye. I'll see you all tomorrow.